Space was not empty. It was full of eyes watching, voices whispering across the stars. And when a single human ship crossed into known space, the galaxy did not take it seriously. They laughed. Some laughed with open mouths and deep sounds. Others laughed in quiet rooms, sharing messages that made their friends laugh too. To them, it was absurd. A young species, barely off its own world, sending just one ship as if it mattered. What are they thinking? Asked an official from the Varex Alliance. Do they think we care? Maybe they want to be cute, said another. Or maybe they're trying to be brave. No one believed the humans were dangerous. No one thought they were important. Most didn't even believe they would make it far. On board the ship, the crew knew none of this. Captain Nate Harlow stood on the bridge, looking out at the dark. He was tall, calm, and tired. He had spent years training for this moment. Now that it was here, he felt like he was holding his breath. Next to him, Lisa Morrow sat with her hands on the console. She was the communications officer, and she was listening, not just to the people on board, but to the voices coming from outside. Alien signals, some curious, some cold. We've been picked up, she said. They know we're here. Nate nodded, expected. But they're laughing, she added, frowning. I don't mean literally, but the tone. The way they talk about us? It's like we're a joke. He looked at her. Then back out the window. Doesn't matter what. They think, he said. Not yet. Behind them, other crew members worked quietly. Derek Langston checked the engine systems again. He didn't trust anything that wasn't built by his own hands. Mira Ellis, the mission historian, recorded everything. She knew this would be remembered. She just didn't know how. Outside, the stars burned bright. Inside, the humans stayed focused. This was not just a trip. It was a message. Earth had watched the stars for a long time. Now it was time to step forward. Not with armies, not with war, but with a single ship flying alone into the unknown. And if the galaxy wanted to laugh, let them, because the joke might turn out to be on them. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The message spread fast. Across the stars, in places humans had never heard of, alien voices talked about the ship. Some called it a mistake. Others called it brave. Most just thought it was funny. A species that had only just reached beyond its own world was now flying through space like they belonged. Like they were equals. The older races found it ridiculous. In a council chamber on a cold moon, an official from the Varex Alliance laughed again. They think this is diplomacy, he said, shaking his head. They think we will treat them like we treat each other. Another official from the Xanthari Union frowned. Maybe they are testing us. Testing? The first replied. With one ship? They barely know how to fly between stars. Far away, aboard the human ship Discovery, the crew listened without knowing how much the galaxy was talking about them. Lisa Morrow sat at her post, scanning signals. Her fingers moved slowly over the controls as she tried to make sense of what she was hearing. It's not just random chatter, she said to Nate Harlow, the captain. Some of these messages, they're watching us closely. Nate looked over her shoulder. What do they say? Lisa paused before answering. Most of it is jokes, but some of it is serious. Some of them are asking questions. Like, what? Like if we're dangerous. Nate gave a small smile. Are we? Lisa didn't answer right away. Then she said, I don't think we know yet. Behind them, Derek Langston leaned over the engine console. He tapped the screen with a tired hand. I keep checking, he said. We're running fine. But I don't like being watched. We knew this would happen, Nate told him. Yeah, but I didn't expect so many eyes. Derek muttered. Mira Ellis, the mission historian, stood nearby with her recorder in hand. "This moment matters," she whispered into it. "Not because we are strong, not because we are smart, but because we are here. And the galaxy is looking at us for the first time." She looked out the window at the stars beyond. So many lights. So many worlds. So many beings who had ruled space for so long. And now, one tiny ship from Earth, flying alone. No weapons. Number. Army. Just courage. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Xanthari Union was not known for being kind. They were old. They were strong. And they did not like surprises. When the human ship Discovery entered their space, it was noticed right away. No one had told them to come. No one had asked them to be there. A fleet of 3 Xanthari warships appeared around the Discovery, fast and silent. The humans had no time to run. On the bridge, Captain Nate Harlow stood still. His hands were behind his back. He looked calm, but inside, he was thinking fast. Lisa Morrow sat at her station, listening to the alien signals. Her face was tight. "They're ordering us to stop all movement," she said. "They want us to shut down our engines." Nate didn't answer at first. He looked at the screen showing the enemy ships. Big, dark, silent. "No," he said finally. Lisa turned to him. "Sir, we are a diplomatic vessel," Nate said. "We do not surrender without reason." Behind them, Derek Langston frowned. He was checking the engine systems again. "We can't fight them," he said. "They have more guns, better armor, and they don't look like they're here to talk." "I know," Nate said. "But we don't have to fight." He walked to the pilot's seat. "Can we move?" he asked. The pilot, a quiet man named Carl Briggs, nodded. "Yes, but not far." "Then let's move." Nate said that the Discovery turned slowly. The Xanthari ships followed, keeping close. One of them sent a message. "You will obey or be destroyed." Lisa read it out loud. "They mean it," she said. "I know," Nate said again. Then he gave an order that surprised everyone. "Take us straight toward the nearest asteroid field." Carl blinked. "That's dangerous." "I know," Nate said once more. The Discovery moved fast. The Xanthari followed, thinking the humans were running. But Nate wasn't running. He was leading them into something else. As the ship flew between the rocks, the aliens stayed close. They thought they had control, but then the Discovery made a sharp turn, moving through a narrow gap too small for the big Xanthari ships. One tried to follow and hit a hidden rock. Sparks flew. Alarms sounded. The other 2 slowed down. Nate watched from the bridge. "They won't chase us now," he said. Lisa looked at him. "That was smart," she said. "No," Nate said. "That was just the start." Outside, the stars kept shining. Inside, the crew knew something had changed. They were not just visitors anymore. They were players. And the game had just begun. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Xanthari did not forget what happened. After the Discovery slipped away through the asteroid field, the damaged warship limped back to base. The other 2 returned with no prize and no answers. Word spread quickly across the stars. The humans had not run. They had outsmarted. Across alien networks, new messages flew between worlds. Some were surprised, some were angry. A few were even impressed. "This was not luck," said a Xanthari commander on a cold station orbiting a dead planet. "That move was planned." His officer frowned. "But how? They barely left their world." "Maybe that's the point," the commander sighed. "We assume they were weak because they are young. But maybe youth means something else." Back aboard the Discovery, the crew felt the weight of what they had done. Captain Nate Harlow stood on the bridge, arms crossed. He watched the stars, like they might answer him. Lisa Morrow sat at her post. listening to the signals coming in from all directions. "They're talking about us more now," she said without looking up. "Not just jokes. Not anymore." Derek Langston leaned over her shoulder, reading the screen. "What do they say?" he asked. Lisa hesitated before answering. "Some say we're dangerous. Others say we're clever. One message called us, stone in the boot, whatever that means." Nate smiled slightly. "It means we're annoying but hard to ignore." Derek shook his head. "Great. We made enemies. We also made believers," Lisa added. Myra Ellis, the mission historian, recorded everything as usual. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were bright. "This moment will be remembered," she whispered into her recorder, "because this is when the galaxy stopped laughing and started paying attention." Outside the ship, space stretched wide and dark. Inside, the mood had changed. No longer just an envoy. No longer just a joke. The Discovery was becoming something else. A symbol. Carl Briggs, the pilot, looked at Nate. "What now?" he asked. Nate didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Now we keep going. No fear, no lies, just forward." And forward they went, deeper into unknown space, with the galaxy watching closer than ever, and some of those watching were starting to worry. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The legend began with fire and silence. After escaping the Xanthari, the Discovery kept moving through space like a ghost no one could catch. It passed near trade lanes, diplomatic zones, and war fronts. Every time, something happened. A pirate fleet tried to board them. The humans vanished before they could be caught. A border patrol challenged them. The Discovery danced around the enemy ships like they were made of light. A deep space station sent a warning: leave or be destroyed. The humans answered not with weapons, but with calm words and a short message: "We come in peace." Then they left, and the station's commander, a proud alien general, admitted something he had never said before: "They are brave." Across the stars, more voices started talking about the human ship. Not as a joke, not as a mistake, but as something new. Some called them ghosts. Others called them fools who would die soon. A few began calling them heroes. On Earth, the United Terran Alliance watched and listened. They saw how the galaxy was changing its mind. Back on the Discovery, life went on. Captain Nate Harlow still stood watch on the bridge. He looked tired now, but his eyes stayed sharp. Lisa Morrow kept listening to the signals coming in from all over space. "They're giving us names," she told Nate one day. "Names?" he asked. She nodded. "One group calls us the Whisper. Another says we are the Spark. Some just say the humans." Nate smiled a little. Derek Langston walked in, holding a cup of hot drink. He shook his head. "I don't like being famous," he said. "You didn't like being ignored either," Lisa pointed out. He sighed. "Yeah, I guess I just don't like being watched." Myra Ellis, the mission historian, recorded every word. Her voice was steady as she spoke into her recorder. "This is no longer just a mission," she said. "It is a story. And the galaxy is listening." Outside the ship, stars burned like fire. Inside, the crew knew they were no longer just travelers. They were legends in the making, and the journey was far from over. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The trap was not made of steel or stone. It was made of space itself. Captain Nate Harlow stood on the bridge of the Discovery, watching the enemy ships close in. The Galactic Council had finally decided to act. A full armada of warships, fast and heavy with weapons, had followed the Discovery to the edge of a dead star system. There would be no talk this time. No warning. Just destruction. Lisa Morrow sat at her station, listening to the enemy signals. Her fingers moved fast over the keys. "They're locking weapons on us," she said, voice tight. Derek Langston checked the engines for what felt like the 100th time. "We're ready," he sighed. "But we don't have much." Nate didn't look away from the screen. "We don't need much," he said. "We just need them to follow." Behind them, Carl Briggs, the pilot, waited for the order. His hands were steady, but his face showed worry. "Tell me this isn't a suicide run," he said. "It's not," Nate said. "Not if we do it right." Then he gave the command, "Take us in." The Discovery dove toward the remains of the dead star. The gravity was wild here, unpredictable, dangerous. Most ships avoided it. But Nate knew something the enemy didn't. His crew had studied this place. As the Discovery flew deeper into the danger zone, the Council's fleet followed, confident in their numbers and strength. They should not have followed. Nate watched as the first enemy ship drifted too close to a hidden gravity well. It shuddered, pulled off course, and crashed into the path of another vessel. 2 ships lost in seconds. Lisa whispered, "They're falling for it." "Keep moving," Nate said. Carl pushed the ship through narrow paths around invisible dangers, always staying just ahead of the enemy. Then came the final move. A signal burst from the Discovery. A pulse, not a weapon, not a message. A trigger. Hidden drones, placed earlier by human scouts, activated all at once. They fired in silence. Enemy ships exploded like stars going dark. 1, 2, 5. The rest tried to turn back. Too late. By the time the battle ended, only a few enemy ships remained. The rest were gone. And the Discovery? Still flying, still alone, but no longer unseen. The galaxy now knew humanity was not just brave. It was deadly. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The silence after the battle was heavy. The Discovery floated in space, its lights dimmed, its hull marked with small burns and dents. Around it, the remains of the Galactic Council's fleet drifted like broken bones in the dark. They had come to end a problem. Instead, they had become part of the legend. Back on Earth, the message arrived fast. The United Terran Alliance watched the data stream in with wide eyes. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. Nate Harlow stood on the bridge, tired but calm. He looked at the screen showing the few enemy ships that had escaped. "They'll tell the others," he said. Lisa Morrow nodded from her station. "They already are." Across the stars, alien voices spoke with new tones, not laughter. "Not anymore. Respect. Fear. Confusion. Hey." Centauri diplomat sat in a quiet room, watching the recorded footage of the battle. "They are not what we thought," he whispered. "We were wrong." On the cold hulls of a Varex command ship, an officer turned to his leader. "We should send envoys," he said, "before they send more ships." Because now, the Discovery was not alone. New human vessels were being built. Fast, smart, ready. And Earth was no longer waiting to be invited to the table. Back aboard the Discovery, the crew moved with quiet pride. They had survived. And more than that, they had changed things. Derek Langston leaned against the engine console, drinking something hot. "I never thought I'd say this," he muttered. "But maybe we're actually good at this." Carl Briggs, the pilot, gave a tired smile. "Yeah, maybe we are." Mayra Ellis, the mission historian, recorded everything as usual. "This is the moment," she said into her recorder, "when the galaxy stopped laughing and started listening." Outside, the stars burned bright. Inside, the crew knew their journey was far from over. Now, they weren't just explorers. They were diplomats. They were warriors. They were the first. And behind them, Earth was waking up to a new truth. Humanity was not just in space. It was shaping it. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The Discovery was no longer just a ship. Had become a symbol. A name whispered across space. Some feared it. Others admired it, but none ignored it. Back on Earth, the United Terran Alliance watched closely. They saw how the crew had turned a mission of peace into something more. They were not just ambassadors anymore. They were heroes, but with fame came pressure. And pressure changed people. Captain Nate Harlow still stood on the bridge, watching the stars like they might speak back. But now, his shoulders felt heavier. Lisa Morrow sat at her post, reading messages from alien worlds. Some offered peace. Others warned of war. They want us to choose sides, she told Nate one day. He nodded slowly. We already did. Derek. Langston paced near the engine room, arms crossed. I don't like this, he muttered. We were supposed to open doors, not break them down. Carl Briggs leaned against the wall. Maybe opening doors sometimes means breaking things. That's not our job, Derek said. That's politics. And we're in the middle of it, Lisa replied. Tensions grew. Some of the crew believed they should keep exploring, keep talking. Others thought it was time to return home and let Earth decide what came next. Mira Ellis, the mission historian, recorded everything. Her voice was calm, but even she sounded unsure. This is the moment, she said into her recorder. When the crew begins to feel the weight of what they have done. Nate tried to keep things together. He talked to each of them. He listened. But he knew the truth. They were no longer just a crew. They were an example. And examples are hard to control. Night, Derek sat alone in the mess hall, staring at his cup. We were never coming back the same, he said quietly. None of us, Lisa sat across from him. No, she agreed. But maybe that's okay. Outside, the stars burned like always. Inside, the crew of the Discovery began to change, not because they wanted to, but because they had to, because once you become a legend, you can never go back to being just a person, and the Discovery was no longer just a ship. It was the beginning of something bigger than any of them. *****. The attack came without warning. Human colonies on the edge of known space were hit hard. Ships burned. Stations fell silent. The message was clear. Humanity had risen too fast. A group of alien warlords, angry and afraid, had decided to strike. First, they called themselves the Corvash, a name feared across many systems. They want us gone, said a United Terran officer back on Earth, before we become too strong. But they had already made a mistake. They had hurt what belonged to humans. And humans do not forget. On board the Discovery, Nate Harlow read the reports with cold eyes. He sat alone on the bridge, hands folded, mind racing. Lisa Morrow stood nearby. Voice low. We have to respond. Derek Langston leaned against the wall. We always knew this might happen. But not like this, Carl Briggs said quietly. Not this soon. Across Earth and its growing colonies, anger rose like fire. The United Terran Alliance had been careful, slow to act. But now, there was no more waiting. Orders were given. Dozens of new human ships launched into space, fast, smart, armed. The age of expansion had begun, and the Discovery was still at the front. Nate stood up. We lead them. Lisa looked at him. You mean fight? We protect, he said. And if needed, we teach them why you don't attack humans. Back on Earth, preparations turned into action. Factories ran day and night. Pilots trained. Commanders planned. This was not just revenge. It was a promise. Mira Ellis, the mission historian, spoke into her recorder as she watched the new ships rise into the stars. This is the moment, she said, when humanity stops asking for a place in the galaxy and starts taking it. Outside the windows of every human vessel, space stretched wide and dark. Inside, the crew was ready. No more tests. No more jokes. The galaxy had once laughed at the idea of humans as equals. Now, they would learn the price of that laughter, and the Discovery would be the first to show them. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Years had passed. The stars still burned. But the space between them had changed. Human ships now flew where once only alien flags ruled. Human voices spoke in councils that had never welcomed them. And on many worlds the name Discovery was no longer just a ship. It was legend. Back on Earth, cities grew taller. Factories built ships faster than ever. The United Terran Alliance had become more than a dream. It was now a power among powers. And at the heart of it all was one truth. The galaxy had once laughed. Now it listened. On a quiet station orbiting a bright blue planet, Captain Nate Harlow stood alone, looking out at the stars. He was older now, tired, but not broken. Lisa Mara walked up beside him. She had left the Discovery years ago, but some habits never left. They still talk about us, she said. Nate smiled slightly. They talk about you now, she shook her head. No, they talk about you, about all of us. Derek Langston sat nearby, drinking something hot. He had returned to Earth long ago, but even from here, he helped shape what came next. I never thought we'd change so much, he muttered. Or that they'd change because of us. Carl Briggs, now a commander himself, leaned against the wall. They feared us once, he said. Now they respect us. Mira Ellis, the mission historian, still recorded everything. Her voice was calm as she spoke into her recorder. This is the end of the beginning, she said. The Discovery is no longer flying, but its journey lives on. In every human ship that leaves home, in every world we touch. We were laughed at, we were tested, but we stayed. Outside, new ships passed like birds across the sky of space. Inside, those who remembered the first steps watched with pride. The galaxy had once seen humans as weak, as silly, as too young to matter. But now they knew better, because one ship had flown alone, and the rest of humanity had followed, not in fear, not in shame, but in strength. And the stars, once cold and distant, now belonged to humans as much as to anyone else. The joke had turned, and this time, the galaxy was not laughing.